I never thought a promotion would be the beginning of the end of my career. My name is David, and for 5 years, I was the senior analyst at Sterling Heights firm. I loved my job, but more than that, I loved my wife, Elena. She was my rock, the person I came home to every night with a sense of peace. Everything changed the Monday morning Brenda Vance walked into the boardroom as our new CEO. Brenda was sharp, ambitious, and undeniably striking. During her first week, she called me into her office. I expected a briefing on the quarterly reports. Instead, she leaned back in her chair, ignored my folder, and smiled. "David," she said, her voice dropping an octave, "I've looked at your file. You're wasted in that cubicle. You have potential beyond just numbers." I thanked her professionally and tried to leave, but she stopped me. "I'm hosting a private dinner for the executive board tonight. I want you there. Just you and me, to discuss your future." I felt a knot in my stomach. "I'm sorry, Ms. Vance, but I have plans with my wife tonight. Perhaps we can do lunch tomorrow." Her smile didn't fade, but her eyes grew cold for a split second. "Family is important, David. But so is ambition. If you are eager to know how this story unfolds and wish to listen to the end, kindly like and subscribe to this channel. It really gives me the support I need to bring you stories like this every day. Over the next month, the gestures became impossible to ignore. Brenda started texting my personal phone late at night, not about spreadsheets, but about how lonely her penthouse felt. At the office, she would find reasons to touch my shoulder or stand uncomfortably close while I presented data. The breaking point came during a business trip to Chicago. After the meetings ended, she sent a bottle of expensive wine to my hotel room with a note, "Room 402. Don't be boring." I didn't go. I stayed in my room and FaceTimed Elena, watching her laugh as she told me about her day. That screen was my shield. The next morning at breakfast, Brenda looked at me with pure disdain. "You're making a very expensive mistake, David," she whispered as she walked past my table. A week after we returned, I was summoned to her office. The air was thick with tension. She didn't ask me to sit. "I offered you the world, David," Brenda said, pacing the floor. "I could have made you a partner by the end of the year. All I wanted was a little appreciation, a little passion. Are you really that devoted to a plain life?" "I love my wife, Brenda," I said firmly, using her first name for the first time. "I'm a professional, and I'm a faithful man. If my work isn't enough to keep me here, then I don't belong here." She stopped pacing and laughed. It was a sharp, bitter sound. She picked up a manila envelope from her desk and tossed it at me. "You're right. You don't belong here. You're being terminated, effective immediately. Restructuring, the paperwork says. But we both know the truth." I walked out of that building with a box of my belongings and a heavy heart, but my head was held high. When I got home, Elena saw my face and knew something was wrong. I told her everything, the offers, the threats, and the final walkout. She didn't cry about the lost salary. She hugged me tighter than she ever had. "I'd rather have a husband with no job," she whispered, "than a husband with no integrity." Brenda Vance kept her company, but I kept my soul. And in the end, that was the better deal. The first 2 weeks of unemployment were a blur of silence and reflection. I woke up every morning at 7 a.m. out of habit, only to remember that my office badge was now a useless piece of plastic. Elena was incredible. She didn't let me sink into a hole. "You are the best analyst in the city, David," she told me over coffee one Tuesday. "Brenda Vance didn't fire you because you were bad at your job. She fired you because you were too good of a man for her." She was right. I started reaching out to old contacts. Within a month, I received an invitation from Apex Global Solutions, Sterling Heights' biggest competitor. During the interview with their CEO, a man named Marcus Thorne, he asked me why I left Sterling. "Difference in values," I said simply. Marcus nodded, his eyes sharp. "I've heard rumors about how Brenda Vance runs her ship. Integrity is a rare currency these days, David. We're willing to pay a premium for it." They offered me a director-level position. Better pay, a corner office, and most importantly, a culture of respect. While my life was stabilizing, the walls were closing in on Brenda. It turns out I wasn't the only one she had pressured. but I was the only one who had documented it. Before I left, I had saved copies of the late-night texts and the hotel room invitations to a private cloud drive, not for revenge, but for insurance. 3 months into my new role, a lawyer representing a former junior associate at Sterling Heights contacted me. They were building a case for a hostile work environment. I handed over my logs. The scandal broke on a Friday afternoon. The headlines were brutal: CEO of Sterling Heights accused of systemic harassment. A year later, the tables turned in a way I never could have predicted. Sterling Heights, battered by lawsuits and a plummeting stock price following Brenda's departure, was up for sale. Marcus Thorne called me into his office at Apex. "David, you know their books better than anyone. I want you to lead the acquisition team. We're buying Sterling Heights." Walking back into that building was surreal. I wasn't the man with the box of belongings anymore. I was the executive in charge of their future. As I sat in the very boardroom where Brenda had first tried to lure me away from my values, I looked at the panicked faces of the remaining board members. "We are here to restore the integrity of this firm," I told them. "The era of ego and harassment is over." I was leaving the final signing when I saw a woman standing by a black car outside. It was Brenda. She was there to collect her final settlement papers. She looked smaller, her sharp suits replaced by a tired, frantic expression. She saw me across the street. For a moment, our eyes met. There was no fire left in her, only a desperate kind of realization. I didn't feel the urge to gloat. I felt a strange sense of pity for someone who had everything and threw it away for a whim. I simply adjusted my tie, turned away, and walked toward the train station. Today, Sterling Heights is a subsidiary of Apex, and I oversee the entire division. Elena and I recently celebrated our 10th anniversary. We don't live in a penthouse, but our home is filled with laughter and trust, things money and power could never buy. Brenda Vance is a name whispered in cautionary tales within the industry, while I am known as the man who wouldn't break. I learned that being a professional isn't just about the work you do, it's about the person you remain while doing it. What do you think of David's journey? Have you ever had to choose between your career and your values? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories of integrity and triumph.